"Mommy, please wake up." I heard my daughter's voice through the fog, soft and broken, and I tried so hard to open my eyes. Tried to move my fingers, to squeeze her little hand that I could feel holding mine. But my body wouldn't listen. It felt like I was trapped underwater, hearing everything from a distance but unable to break through to the surface. "The doctor said she can hear us," Luca whispered. "Mommy, if you can hear us, we love you. Please come back." "I'm trying, baby. I'm trying so hard." You know what's terrifying about losing control of your own body? About feeling yourself slipping away while your children beg you to stay? It's not the pain. Pain I could handle. It's the helplessness. The knowledge that 3 little lives depend on you, and you might not be strong enough to keep fighting. My name is Arya Bennett, and this is the story of how I went from being a woman who believed in love and second chances to a single mother barely surviving, and finally to someone fighting for her life in a hospital bed, while the man who destroyed me walks back into my world at the worst possible moment. But before I tell you how I ended up here, dying while my children cry, let me tell you something important. This story gets dark before it gets light. It gets painful before it gets beautiful. And if you're listening to this wherever you are, at home, in your car, trying to escape your own problems for a while, I need you to stick with me. Hit that subscribe button because you're going to want to know how this ends. Drop a comment and tell me where you're listening from. Are you somewhere warm today? Cold? Rainy? I want to know there are people out there hearing my story, understanding that sometimes life breaks you before it remakes you. Let me start from the beginning, back when I was young enough to believe that love could conquer anything, including the darkness in a man's eyes that should have warned me to run. I was 24 when I met Dante Moretti, fresh out of graduate school with a degree in linguistics and translation, working at a charity event because I needed the money and believed in the cause, helping immigrant families navigate the healthcare system, translating their fears and hopes into words doctors could understand. He walked into that ballroom like he owned it. Dark hair, sharp suit, eyes that seemed to see right through every defense I'd ever built. Dangerous in a way I couldn't quite name but felt in my bones. The kind of man my mother would have warned me about. I should have asked more questions. Should have pushed harder when he changed the subject. Should have noticed the way he tensed when certain names came up, or how he'd disappear for days without real explanations. But I was in love. And love makes you blind to red flags you'd normally see from miles away. We'd been together for 2 years when everything changed. He started becoming distant, pulling away in small ways I tried to ignore. Canceled dates. Distracted conversations. Attention in his shoulders that never fully released even when we were alone. I thought maybe he was stressed about work. Or maybe I'd done something wrong. I tried harder. Cooked his favorite meals. Planned special evenings. Asked if he wanted to talk about whatever was bothering him. He always said everything was fine. That he just had a lot on his mind. That he loved me and nothing was wrong. Then one night he made love to me with this desperate intensity, like he was trying to say something he couldn't put into words. He held me afterward, running his fingers through my hair, and whispered that I was the best thing that ever happened to him. I fell asleep feeling secure and loved. I woke up to an empty apartment and a note. The note was 3 sentences. Cold and clinical, like he was terminating a business contract instead of ending the relationship that had become my entire world. This isn't working. We want different things. It's better this way. No explanation. No phone call. No chance to ask questions or fight for us or understand what had changed. He just erased himself from my life like the 2 years we spent together meant nothing. I called him 50 times that first day. Left messages that went from confused to angry to begging. Every call went straight to voicemail. Every message went unanswered. He'd vanished completely. I spent weeks trying to understand what I'd done wrong. Replaying every conversation, every moment, looking for the thing that had pushed him away. I lost weight. Stopped sleeping. Walked through my days like a ghost, barely functioning. My friends told me to move on. That he was clearly a jerk who didn't deserve me. That I was better off without a man who could leave like that. But they didn't understand. When you love someone that deeply, when you've built a future in your mind with them, you can't just flip a switch and stop caring. The grief was physical. An actual ache in my chest that wouldn't go away. Then, 6 weeks after he left, I missed my period. I took 3 pregnancy tests, certain they'd all be negative because the universe couldn't possibly be that cruel. But all 3 showed the same result. 2 pink lines that changed everything. I was pregnant. I tried to contact him one more time. Left a message that just said, "I need to talk to you. It's important." Waited 3 days for a response that never came. That's when I realized I was truly alone. The ultrasound at 8 weeks showed 3 heartbeats. Triplets. The doctor said it was rare, a 1 in 10,000 chance. I sat in that examination room staring at the screen, watching 3 tiny flickers of life, and felt terror and love crash over me in equal waves. How was I supposed to raise 1 baby alone, let alone 3? But as the weeks passed and my belly grew, something shifted inside me. These babies were mine. They were part of me. And even though their father had abandoned us, even though I had no idea how I was going to make it work, I knew I would die before I let anything happen to them. I worked 2 jobs throughout my pregnancy. Translation work during the day, freelance editing at night. Saved every penny I could. Moved to a smaller apartment in a cheaper neighborhood. Cut out everything that wasn't essential. The pregnancy was hard. Triplets always are. I was exhausted constantly, swollen and uncomfortable and scared. But I didn't have the luxury of taking it easy. Bills didn't stop. Rent didn't pause. Life didn't care that I was doing this alone. 32 weeks I went into early labor. The doctors managed to stop it and keep the babies in for 5 more weeks, but those weeks were torture. Bed rest while still trying to work. Knowing that every day the babies stayed inside was crucial for their survival. Lily, Luca, and Marco were born at 37 weeks. Small but healthy. Perfect in every way that mattered. And the moment I held them, the moment I looked into 3 pairs of dark eyes that looked exactly like their father's, I knew I'd made the right choice keeping them. The first year was a blur of no sleep, endless feedings, and constant worry about money. I couldn't afford childcare for 3 infants, so I worked from home, translating documents while babies cried in the background, editing articles during the 2-hour windows when all 3 were miraculously asleep at the same time. I applied for assistance. Swallowed my pride and asked for help because my children needed to eat and I couldn't do it alone. But even with help, it was never enough. There was always another bill, another expense, another crisis to manage. As the triplets grew into toddlers and then into the bright, funny 4-year-olds they are now, I watched them develop personalities and quirks that both broke my heart and filled it completely. Lily with her protective nature, always making sure her brothers were okay. Luca with his quiet thoughtfulness, noticing everything. Marco with his stubborn determination, never backing down from a challenge. They asked about their father sometimes. Why don't we have a daddy like other kids? I never knew how to answer that. How do you explain to children that their father chose to leave? That he didn't know they existed because he cut off all contact before I could tell him? How do you make that not sound like rejection? So I'd tell them their daddy had to go away for important reasons, but that he'd loved them very much. I lied to protect their hearts, even as it ripped mine apart to keep defending a man who destroyed me. I worked myself to exhaustion keeping us afloat. 2 jobs, sometimes 3 when I could find overnight work. The triplets in affordable daycare during the day, while I translated legal documents and medical records. Me editing articles and translating websites at night after they went to bed. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. My health became something I ignored because I didn't have time to be sick. Every spare dollar went to rent, food, clothes the kids would outgrow in months. I knew I was running on empty. Knew my body was sending warning signs I didn't have time to address. The exhaustion that went beyond tiredness. The infections that took too long to heal. The chest pains I blamed on stress. But I kept pushing. Because that's what mothers do. We keep going until we literally can't anymore. Last week I noticed the chest pains getting worse. Started having trouble breathing after walking upstairs. Developed a cough I couldn't shake. But I had deadlines to meet and children to feed and no time to deal with whatever was wrong. Yesterday morning I woke up and couldn't breathe. Couldn't get enough air no matter how hard I tried. The triplets were scared, watching me gasp and struggle. Lily called 911, brave little girl, while her brothers held my hands and cried. The ambulance came. The paramedics said something about sepsis and respiratory failure. The last thing I remember clearly was holding my children's hands in the emergency room, trying to tell them I loved them while nurses pulled them away and rushed me to intensive care. Then nothing but darkness and distant voices. Machines beeping. Doctors talking in urgent tones about infection and organ failure and critically unstable. And through it all, my children's voices calling me back. Mommy, please wake up. Mommy, we need you. Mommy, don't leave us. I'm fighting, babies. I'm fighting so hard to come back to you. But there's something else now. Another voice. Deeper. Familiar in a way that makes my unconscious mind recoil in shock, and something else I can't quite name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Arya. No. It can't be. He's not here. He left. He's been gone for 5 years. This is just my dying mind playing tricks, conjuring ghosts from my past. I should have been there. I should have known about them. About who? What is he talking about? They're perfect. They're smart and brave, and they love you so much. The children. He's talking about our children, which means he knows. He's seen them. He's here. Dante is here. And I can't wake up. Can't open my eyes to confront him or scream at him or ask him why. Can't protect my babies from the man who will inevitably break their hearts the way he broke mine. I'm trapped in this dying body while the man who destroyed me meets the children he never knew existed. This can't be happening. This can't be real. But I hear him. Hear the pain in his voice. The regret. And God help me, even after everything, even as I'm dying because of the life he forced me into, part of me still responds to his voice. Still remembers what it felt like to be loved by him. Still wishes things could have been different. The machines around me start beeping faster. I feel hands on me, urgent voices, someone saying my vitals are dropping. Fight, Arya. Dante's voice cuts through the chaos. Please fight. For them. For Lily and Luca and Marco. They need their mother. I need you to survive this. He needs me. He has no right to need anything from me. But my children need me. And that's stronger than death. Stronger than pain. Stronger than the rage and heartbreak I feel knowing he's here. I have to survive this. Have to wake up. Have to protect my babies from whatever chaos he's brought back into our lives. So I fight. I push against the darkness. I refuse to let go. Because I'm a mother. And mothers don't quit. Even when the man who broke them comes back and threatens to break them all over again. The darkness pulls at me, trying to drag me deeper. But I cling to consciousness with everything I have. Somewhere beyond this fog, my children are waiting. And apparently so is he. I drift in and out, catching fragments of conversations around me. DNA results confirm paternity. All 3 children are yours, Mr. Moretti. A woman's voice, clinical and matter of fact. A long silence. Then Dante's voice, rougher than I remember. I want copies of everything. Medical records, birth certificates, everything about them. Sir, we need to discuss custody arrangements. The children can't stay at the hospital indefinitely. They're staying with my sister temporarily. I'm handling it. Your sister? Sophia? The ice queen who looked at me like I was dirt on her designer shoes the one time we accidentally met? That's who has my babies. Panic surges through me. I try to move, to wake up, to tell them no. But my body won't cooperate. Hours pass. Maybe days. Time has no meaning in this place between living and dying. I hear the children come in again. Their small hands touching mine. Their voices telling me about their day. Aunt Sophia made us pancakes, Lily says. But they weren't as good as yours, Mommy. Nothing is as good as yours. She has a big house, Luca adds quietly. With lots of rooms. But I don't like it there. I want to go home. When are you waking up? Marco asks, his voice breaking. We miss you so much. I miss you too, baby. I'm trying to come back. Then Dante's voice, closer than before. Can I have a moment alone with her? The nurse must agree because I hear the door close. Footsteps approaching my bed. The sound of a chair being pulled close. He takes my hand and even through the fog I feel it. That electric connection we always had. The one I thought I'd killed along with my love for him. I talked to your landlord, he says quietly. Your rent is 3 months behind. Paid it off. Paid for the next year too. The eviction notice is gone. Eviction notice? God, I've been so close to losing our home and I didn't even know it. I went to your apartment. Saw how you've been living. That place is too small for 4 people, Arya. The kids are sharing one tiny bedroom. You've been sleeping on the couch. The fridge was almost empty. Shame burns through me even in this unconscious state. He's seeing the life I built. The failure I've been hiding. I'm not judging you, he continues like he can sense my thoughts. I'm in awe of you. You kept 3 kids fed and safe on your own. You gave them love and stability with nothing. You're the strongest person I've ever known. Don't say nice things. Don't make me remember why I loved you. I called in favors. Got the best infectious disease specialist in the country to consult on your case. Dr. Spencer says if you make it through tonight, your chances improve to 70%. So you need to make it through tonight, Arya. You need to fight. I am fighting. Every second I'm fighting. The kids asked me today if I was really their father. Lily looked me straight in the eye and asked why I left them. She's 4 years old and she's already protecting her brothers from potential threats. She's so much like you. What did you tell her? I told her the truth. That I didn't know they existed. That I left you before I knew you were pregnant. That I made the biggest mistake of my life walking away from you. That's not the whole truth though, is it? You didn't just leave. You vanished. Cut off all contact. Ignored every attempt I made to reach you. She asked if I was going to leave again. All 3 of them are terrified I'm going to disappear. And I can't blame them because that's exactly what I did to you. His voice cracks slightly. I'm not leaving. I know I have no right to be part of their lives. No right to call myself their father. But I'm not walking away. Whatever it takes, whatever I have to do. I'm going to make sure you all have everything you need. Money. He thinks money fixes everything. That's always been his solution. Throw cash at problems until they disappear. But he can't buy back 5 years. Can't purchase the nights I cried myself to sleep or the times I went hungry so my children could eat. Can't pay for the damage he did walking away without explanation. I talked to my father today. Told him about you and the kids. He wants to meet them. No, absolutely not. I've heard the stories about his father. The violence. The criminal empire. That's exactly the world I don't want my children anywhere near. I try to pull my hand away from his, but I still can't move. I know what you're thinking, Dante says. You're thinking about my family. About the danger. About keeping them safe from my world. That's what I was thinking 5 years ago when I left you. I thought I was protecting you. You thought wrong. I was wrong. I see that now. I didn't protect you. I just left you vulnerable and alone. Made everything harder. And I'm sorry, Arya. I'm so deeply sorry. Sorry doesn't feed children. Sorry doesn't pay rent. Sorry doesn't erase 5 years of struggle. But despite my anger, despite everything, I hear the genuine pain in his voice. The regret. And it cracks something inside me that I thought was permanently hardened. The door opens. Dr. Spencer's voice. Mr. Moretti, I need to examine the patient. Of course. Dante stands but doesn't let go of my hand immediately. I'll be back, Arya. The kids will be back tomorrow morning. We're all waiting for you. After he leaves, Dr. Spencer performs his examination. I hear him talking to a nurse about antibiotics and vital signs and infection markers. She's fighting, he says finally. Her body is starting to respond to treatment. If she maintains this trajectory, we might be able to reduce sedation tomorrow and see if she can wake on her own. Hope. That's what I hear in his voice. The first real hope since this nightmare started. I cling to that hope. Use it as an anchor. That night I dream. Not the confused, fragmented dreams of the medically sedated, but clear, vivid memories. I dream of the night Dante left. Walking through our apartment in my pajamas looking for him, finding that note. Reading it over and over, trying to make the words mean something different. I dream of taking those pregnancy tests. The shock and terror and fierce protectiveness that took over. I dream of the triplets' birth. Holding 3 tiny babies and promising them I'd never let them down. I dream of every struggle, every sacrifice, every moment I wanted to give up but didn't because they needed me. And I dream of tonight. Of Dante's voice telling me to fight. Of his hand holding mine. Of the choice I have to make. Do I wake up and push him away? Protect my children from the man who abandoned us? Or do I wake up and face the complicated truth that maybe, just maybe, he's here for real this time? The dreams fade. The fog lifts slightly. And for the first time since I collapsed, I feel my fingers move. Just barely. Just a twitch. But it's movement. It's control returning. I focus all my energy on that small victory. On finding my way back to the surface. Back to my children who need their mother. Back to face the man who broke me and somehow found his way into the middle of my crisis. Morning comes. I know because I hear the shift change. Nurses talking. Someone adjusting my 4. Then small footsteps. 3 sets. Running. Mommy. Lily's voice. We're here. We brought you flowers. Well, Daddy bought them, but we picked them out. Daddy. She called him Daddy. Something inside me lurches. Pain or panic or grief, I'm not sure. Talk to her, Dante's voice says gently. The doctor says she might be able to hear you better today. Mommy, I learned a new song, Lucas says. Want to hear it? He sings softly. A children's song about sunshine and happiness. His voice is sweet and slightly off-key and absolutely perfect. Aunt Sophia says we can stay with her as long as we need to, Marco adds. But I told her we want to go home. With you. And maybe with our daddy too if that's okay. That's okay. Baby, nothing about this situation is okay. But I hear the hope in his voice. The tentative trust. The desperate need for a father figure that I could never provide no matter how hard I tried. I focus on my hand. The one Lily is holding. I try to squeeze her fingers. Mommy. Lily's voice rises with excitement. Did you squeeze my hand? Do it again if you can hear me. I try again. Put everything I have into moving those fingers. She did. She squeezed. Mommy squeezed my hand. Lily's shouting now. Nurse. Doctor. Come quick. Footsteps running. Dr. Spencer's voice. Everyone step back, please. Let me examine her. He lifts my eyelids, shines a light. Checks reflexes. Miss Bennett, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand. I squeeze. Good. Now try to open your eyes. I try. Takes enormous effort like lifting weights with my eyelids. But slowly, painfully, light filters in. Blurry shapes. Faces hovering over me. That's it, Dr. Spencer encourages. Take your time. My vision clears gradually. I see the doctor first. Then nurses. Then 3 small faces pressed close, eyes wide with hope and fear. My babies. My beautiful babies. Mommy. They're crying and trying to hug me all at once. The nurse gently pulls them back. Careful, sweethearts. Mommy's still very weak. I try to speak but my throat is raw from the breathing tube. Nothing comes out but a rasp. Don't try to talk yet, Dr. Spencer says. You've been intubated. Your throat will be sore for a while. Then I see him. Standing back from the bed, giving the children space. But watching me with an expression I can't quite read. Dante. 5 years older. Lines around his eyes that weren't there before. But still heartbreakingly familiar. Our eyes meet and the world seems to stop. He takes a step forward then stops himself. Like he's not sure he has the right to come closer. He doesn't. He has no right to any of this. But he's here. And somehow, despite everything that matters. The children were gently ushered out after a few minutes. Too much excitement wasn't good for my recovery, the nurses said. But I saw their faces light up as they left. Hope replacing the fear that had been there for days. Dr. Spencer removed the breathing tube carefully. My throat burned, but being able to breathe on my own felt like victory. You gave us quite a scare, Miss Bennett, he said, checking my vitals. Your body was shutting down. But you fought back harder than anyone expected. I managed to croak out one word. Kids. They're fine. They've been here every day. And Mr. Moretti has been very involved in your care. I closed my eyes. That was exactly what I was afraid of. After the doctor left, Dante approached slowly, like he was afraid I'd shatter if he moved too fast. Arya, he said softly. I turned my head away. I wasn't ready for this conversation. Wasn't ready to hear his explanations or excuses or whatever he planned to say. I know you're angry, he continued. You have every right to be. But we need to talk about the children. About what happens next. I forced my voice to work even though it hurt. You leave. That's what happens. I can't do that. You did it before. The words came out bitter and raw. He flinched. I did. And I've regretted it every day since. But I'm not making that mistake again. Those kids are mine, Arya. I'm not walking away from them. I turned to look at him, then really look at him. Saw the determination in his eyes. The same stubborn set to his jaw that Marco had inherited. They don't know you, I whispered. You're a stranger to them. I know. And that's my fault. But I'm here now. I want to be their father. I want to help you. I don't need your help. Arya, you nearly died. You're 3 months behind on rent. You've been working yourself into the ground trying to survive. You need help whether you want to admit it or not. The truth of his words stung worse than my throat. I paid off your debts, he continued. Your rent, medical bills, everything. You don't have to worry about money anymore. Anger flared hot in my chest. You can't just throw money at this and make it okay. You can't buy your way back into our lives. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm trying to take care of my family. We're not your family. We were never your family. You made sure of that when you left. He pulled a chair close to my bed and sat down, looking more tired than I'd ever seen him. You're right. I destroyed what we had. I can't undo that. But those 3 children didn't ask for any of this. They deserve to have a father who provides for them. Who protects them. Protects them. I laughed and it hurt. From what? From the life you live? The dangerous world you're part of? That's exactly what I've been protecting them from. You've been protecting them from poverty and hunger and homelessness all on your own, he said quietly. And you almost died doing it. Let me help carry that burden. Why now? Why do you suddenly care? I've always cared. I left because I cared. Because men in my world were starting to notice you. Starting to see you as a way to get to me. I thought if I disappeared from your life, they'd lose interest. You'd be safe. Safe. My voice rose and a nurse glanced through the window. I lowered it again. You left me pregnant and alone. I lost my job because I couldn't hide the pregnancy. I lost my apartment because I couldn't afford it. I had to beg for help just to keep your children fed. That's not safe, Dante. That's survival. He looked stricken. I didn't know. If I'd known about the pregnancy, I never would have left. But you did leave. And you made sure I couldn't contact you. Every number blocked. Every message ignored. You didn't just walk away. You burned every bridge so I couldn't follow. Because I thought that was protecting you. No. You were protecting yourself. From commitment. From responsibility. From having to choose between me and your precious empire. The words hung between us, heavy and sharp. You're right, he said finally. I was a coward. I took the easy way out. And you and the kids paid the price for my weakness. I can't change that. But I can do better now. If you'll let me. Let you? You think this is about permission? About you getting to decide when to show up and play father? No. This is about 3 children who need both their parents. About you getting the support you should have had from the beginning. A nurse came in to check my medications and we fell silent. After she left, I stared at the ceiling, exhausted from the conversation and from the weight of decisions I wasn't ready to make. The children are staying with Sophia, Dante said. They're safe and comfortable. But they miss you. They ask about you constantly. I want to see them. You will. As soon as you're strong enough. Dr. Spencer says maybe tomorrow for longer visits. I want them back home. With me. As soon as I'm released. Arya, you can't take care of triplets while you're recovering. You need help. Then I'll hire help. With my own money. What money? You're going to go back to working 2 jobs while you're barely able to stand. I had no answer for that. Because he was right and I hated it. Come stay at my house, he said. Just until you're recovered. Separate rooms, no pressure. You'd have round-the-clock help with the kids. Medical care on site. Everything you need to heal. Absolutely not. Then let me rent you a bigger place. Somewhere with enough space for all of you. I'll hire a nurse to help you during recovery. I don't want your charity. It's not charity. It's child support. 5 years of it that I should have been paying all along. I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him to take his money and his guilt and leave us alone. But the exhaustion was overwhelming. And underneath the anger, I knew he was right about one thing. I couldn't do this alone anymore. I pushed myself too far and nearly died because of it. My children had almost lost their mother because I was too proud to ask for help. I need time, I said finally. Time to think. Time to heal. Time to figure out what's best for Lily and Luca and Marco. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. That's what I'm afraid of. He stood to leave, then paused. They look like me, but they act like you. Strong and brave and fierce. You raised incredible kids, Arya. Whatever else happened between us, you did that perfectly. After he left, I lay there staring at the machines, keeping track of my slowly recovering body. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked charts. The world moved around me while I tried to process everything. Dante was back. The man who'd shattered my heart was now offering to fix my life. My children were calling him Daddy after knowing him for days. Everything I'd built, every wall I'd put up, every defense I'd created was crumbling. And the worst part? The absolute worst part was that somewhere under all the anger and hurt and betrayal, a tiny voice in my head whispered that maybe, just maybe, having him back wasn't entirely terrible. That voice terrified me more than anything else. Because I'd loved him once. Loved him so completely that losing him nearly destroyed me. And I wouldn't let him have that power over me again. But he had power over my children now. They were already getting attached. Already hoping for a father. Already building dreams of a complete family in their 4-year-old minds. And when he inevitably left again, because men like Dante always left, it wouldn't just be me picking up the pieces. It would be 3 broken-hearted children who'd learned that fathers don't stay. I couldn't let that happen. Couldn't let him hurt them the way he hurt me. But I also couldn't do this alone anymore. The hospital bills alone would bury me. The time off work would cost me both my jobs. And I needed to be healthy for my kids, which meant accepting help even if it came from the last person I wanted to owe. The door opened and Sophia walked in. I'd only met her once years ago, and she'd made it clear she thought I wasn't good enough for her brother. Seeing her now, perfectly put together in expensive clothes, made me acutely aware of how far I'd fallen. "You're awake," she said, and I couldn't read her tone. "Your brother told you." "He did. He also told me you're too stubborn to accept help." "I don't need a lecture from you too." She pulled up the chair Dante had vacated. "I'm not here to lecture. I'm here to tell you about your children. About what I've seen the past few days." I tensed. "Are they okay?" "They're remarkable. Smart, polite, loving. You've done an incredible job with them. I hadn't expected that." "Thank you." "But they're also terrified. Terrified of losing you. Terrified that Dante will leave. Terrified that their whole world is falling apart. And they're putting on brave faces because that's what you taught them to do." Her words hit hard because I knew they were true. "Lily asked me last night if I thought you were going to die," Sophia continued. "She's 4 years old and she's preparing herself for the possibility of being an orphan. That's not okay, Arya." "I know. I'm trying to get better." "You need more than to get better. You need support. Real support. And whether you like it or not, my brother can provide that. He'll leave again. Men like him always do. Maybe. But maybe he's actually changed. I've never seen Dante like this. He's not just guilty. He's invested. He spent last night reading parenting books. He called me 6 times asking if he was doing things right with the kids. This isn't a man planning to run. You're his sister. Of course you're defending him. Actually, I spent most of my life barely tolerating him. We're not close. But I know sincerity when I see it. And I see it now. She stood to leave. Think about the kids, Arya. Not about your pride or your hurt or your anger. Think about what they need. And consider that maybe what they need includes their father. After she left, I was alone with my thoughts and the steady beep of monitors and the weight of impossible choices. My children needed me healthy. They needed stability. They needed security. And as much as I hated admitting it, Dante could provide all of that. The question was whether I was strong enough to let him try. And whether I could protect my children's hearts if he failed. 3 days passed in the hospital. 3 days of physical therapy, medications, and slowly regaining my strength. 3 days of the children visiting, their faces lighting up each time they saw me awake and talking. 3 days of Dante showing up like clockwork, bringing things I needed before I could ask for them. He was careful around me, respectful of boundaries, never pushed too hard. But he was always there. A constant presence I couldn't escape even when I wanted to. On the 4th day, Dr. Spencer gave me good news and bad news. Your infection is responding well to treatment, he said. Your vitals are stable. Physically, you're healing better than expected. What's the bad news? You're not strong enough to go home yet. At least not to care for 3 active 4-year-olds on your own. You need another week of monitored recovery, then several weeks of light activity only. No lifting, no stress, plenty of rest. I closed my eyes. A week in the hospital meant a week of bills piling up. A week not working. A week closer to losing everything I barely managed to hold on to. There's another issue, Dr. Spencer continued gently. Your immune system. The sepsis damaged it significantly. You're going to be vulnerable to infections for a while. You need to avoid stress, get proper nutrition, actually take care of yourself. I have 3 kids to take care of. Which is why you need help. Real help, Ms. Bennett. Not just pushing through like you've been doing. After he left, I stared at the ceiling and tried not to cry. Tried not to think about how badly I'd failed. How close I'd come to leaving my children completely alone in the world. Dante arrived an hour later with the triplets. They rushed to my bed, carefully climbing up to hug me like they'd been coached not to hurt me. Mommy, Aunt Sophia taught us to make cookies, Lily announced. We saved you some, but Marco ate them. I only ate one, Marco protested. Luca ate 2. Did not. Did 2. Boys, I said softly, and they immediately stopped arguing. That was our rule. No fighting in front of Mommy. Dante watched the interaction with something that looked like wonder on his face. Like he couldn't believe these were his children. Like he was seeing magic happen in real time. After the kids showed me their drawings and told me about their adventures at Sophia's house, a nurse came to take them to the playroom for snacks. Dante stayed behind. Dr. Spencer talked to me, he said once we were alone, about your recovery timeline. Of course he did. Arya, you can't go back to that apartment. Not in your condition. And the kids can't stay with Sophia indefinitely. They need their mother. I know that. So come stay at my house. Just temporarily. Until you're back on your feet. I already said no. Then what's your plan? Because going back to working 2 jobs and caring for triplets alone isn't an option anymore. Your body can't handle it. I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him I'd figure it out like I always did. But the truth was I had no plan. No savings. No backup. No safety net. I'll find something, I said weakly. Let me help you. Please. Not because you owe me anything or because I'm trying to buy forgiveness. But because those kids need their mother healthy, and you can't get healthy living in stress and poverty. The words poverty hit hard because that's exactly what my life had become. I'd been so focused on survival that I hadn't let myself see how far we'd fallen. If I agree, I said slowly, there are conditions. Name them. Separate spaces. I'm not sharing a bedroom with you. I'm not playing house or pretending we're a family. Agreed. You'll have your own suite. Complete privacy. The kids stay with me. I don't care how big your house is or how many nannies you want to hire. They sleep near me. I'll set up rooms for them right next to yours. Whatever you need. And this is temporary. Just until I'm healthy enough to go back to work and find us a better place. However long you need. I studied his face, looking for the catch. Looking for the angle. But all I saw was sincerity and hope and something that looked suspiciously like love. That last part scared me most of all. Okay, I said finally. But if you hurt them, if you make promises you don't keep, if you do anything to break their hearts, I will make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. I know. And I won't. I swear on everything I have, I won't hurt them. 2 days later, I was discharged from the hospital. Dante arranged everything with the efficiency of someone used to making things happen. Medical equipment delivered to his house. A private nurse on call. Medications organized. Transportation ready. The children were excited about the move, treating it like an adventure. They didn't understand the complexity of what was happening. Didn't realize their mother was moving into their father's house out of desperation rather than choice. Dante's house was nothing like I expected. I'd imagined something ostentatious and cold. A display of wealth meant to intimidate. But while it was undeniably large and expensive, it was also warm. Comfortable. The kind of place that felt lived in rather than just owned. Sophia met us at the door. I set up the east wing for you and the children. 3 bedrooms with a shared living space. Completely separate from the rest of the house. Your own entrance if you want privacy. She led us through hallways decorated with art that was beautiful without being pretentious. Past rooms that looked cozy rather than sterile. To a section of the house that was essentially a private apartment. The children's rooms were incredible. Each decorated thoughtfully with toys and books and everything they could possibly need. But not overwhelming. Not excessive. Just right. My room was simple and elegant. A large bed with soft linens. A sitting area with a view of the garden. A bathroom with a tub big enough to actually relax in. I'll leave you to settle in, Sophia said. Dante's in his office if you need anything. Dinner is at 6 if you feel up to joining us, but there's no pressure. The nurse will check on you in an hour. After she left, I sat on the bed and let reality crash over me. I was in Dante's house. Dependent on his charity. Living in his space. Letting him into my children's lives in a way I'd sworn I never would. But what choice did I have? Pride didn't keep children fed. Anger didn't pay medical bills. Stubbornness didn't create recovery time. The children burst in, bouncing with excitement about their new rooms. Mommy, can we go explore? Lily asked. Stay in this wing, I said. Don't bother anyone. And stay together. They promised and ran off, and I was alone with my thoughts and my regrets and the crushing weight of dependence. A soft knock on the door. Dante stood in the hallway, careful not to enter without permission. Just checking if you need anything, he said. Why are you doing this? Really? He was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. Because I loved you. Because I never stopped loving you. And because I destroyed something precious and I want a chance to build something new. Even if it's not the same. Even if you never forgive me. I want to try. Love isn't enough, Dante. It wasn't enough 5 years ago. And it's not enough now. I know. But maybe love plus action is enough. Maybe love plus commitment and consistency and showing up every day is enough. I want to find out. And when you get bored. When the reality of screaming kids and sleepless nights and actual responsibility becomes too much. What then? Then I push through it. Because that's what parents do. That's what you've been doing alone for 5 years. I'm just asking for a chance to do it with you. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe that people could change. That men who walked away could learn to stay. That love could survive betrayal and time and all the damage we'd done to each other. But belief was dangerous. Belief led to hope. And hope led to heartbreak. Just don't hurt them, I said quietly. Whatever happens between us, don't hurt our children. I won't. I promise you, Arya. I won't. He left, and I sat in that beautiful room in his beautiful house and wondered if I just made the biggest mistake of my life, or the only choice that made sense. The days that followed fell into a strange routine. Mornings with the children. Afternoons resting while they played or spent time with Dante. Evenings together as something that looked like a family but felt more like a performance. Dante was good with them. Patient and attentive. He learned their quirks and preferences. Remembered that Lily liked her sandwiches cut diagonally and Marco wouldn't eat anything green. And Luca needed his stuffed bear to sleep. He read them bedtime stories with voices for different characters. Played games that left them laughing. Asked about their days like their answers mattered. And I watched, unable to stop myself from noticing how natural he looked with them. How much they were starting to love him. How easily he was sliding into the father role I'd told myself he'd never fill. But I also noticed other things. The phone calls he took in private. The men in suits who occasionally showed up at the house. The tension that appeared in his shoulders when certain names were mentioned. He was still part of that world. The dangerous world I'd spent 5 years trying to keep my children away from. And now we were living in the center of it. One evening, after the children were asleep, I found him in his office. The door was open and he was on the phone speaking Italian. His voice was cold in a way I'd never heard before. Threatening. Dangerous. This was the Dante I didn't know. The one who'd existed before me and continued after me. The one who did things I probably didn't want to imagine. He noticed me and ended the call quickly. Sorry, he said. Work. What kind of work requires you to threaten someone in Italian at 9 at night? The complicated kind. Dante, if my children are living here, I need to know they're safe. I need to know what we're really part of. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the darkened garden. They're safe. This house is the most secure place they could be. But you're right. You deserve to know the truth. So tell me. My family is involved in businesses that exist in gray areas. Import-export logistics. Some of it legal. Some of it less so. I inherited control 5 years ago when my father stepped back. I've been trying to legitimize things, move toward legal operations. But it's complicated. You can't just walk away from certain agreements. Meaning what exactly? Meaning there are people who would prefer I stay in the old business. And they occasionally need reminding that I make my own decisions. Are my children in danger? No. I would never let anyone hurt them. This house has security that most government buildings would envy. No one gets close to them without going through me first. But the danger exists. The danger always exists, Arya. Even before you came here. Single mothers in unsafe neighborhoods face danger. Poverty and desperation create danger. At least here you have protection. He wasn't wrong, but that didn't make it easier to accept. I need time, I said. Time to get stronger. Time to figure out what's best for the kids. Time to decide if this arrangement can work long term. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. But that was the problem, wasn't it? He said he wasn't going anywhere. Made promises and declarations. Showed up and played the devoted father. But I'd heard those promises before. Had believed them once. And believing them again felt like voluntarily walking into heartbreak. Still, as the weeks passed and my strength slowly returned, I couldn't deny that life was better here. The children were happier. Fed well. Safe. Learning and growing in ways they couldn't have in our cramped apartment with an exhausted, overworked mother. And Dante kept showing up. Every morning. Every evening. Every moment he wasn't working, he was with them. With us. He was becoming part of their lives in ways I couldn't undo. And that terrified me more than anything else. Because when he left, and eventually he would leave, it wouldn't just be me picking up the pieces anymore. It would be 3 broken hearts that would never fully trust again. 6 weeks into our arrangement, I was strong enough to walk around the house without exhaustion, strong enough to play with the children, strong enough to start thinking about what came next. That's when everything fell apart. I woke up one night to voices downstairs. Angry voices. I checked on the children, all 3 sleeping soundly, then crept to the staircase. Dante was in the foyer with 3 men I'd never seen before. Expensive suits. Cold eyes. The kind of men who radiated danger. "Your father made promises," one of them said. "You don't get to just walk away from them because you suddenly have a family." I'm not walking away. I'm restructuring. There's a difference. There's no difference to the people who depend on those arrangements. You either honor the commitments or there are consequences. Are you threatening me in my own house? The man smiled, and it was the scariest thing I'd ever seen. I'm reminding you what's at stake. Your father understood that family makes you vulnerable. Wives, children, they become leverage when you forget your obligations. My blood ran cold. "Get out," Dante said, his voice deadly quiet. "And tell whoever sent you that if anyone comes near my family, there won't be negotiations. There will be war." After they left, I stayed frozen on the stairs. Leverage. They called us leverage. My children were now targets because of who their father was. Dante turned and saw me. The expression on his face told me he knew I'd heard everything. "Arya, you promised they'd be safe. They are safe. Those men won't touch them. But other men might. That's what this is about. Your business associates see my children as tools to control you. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple." I was shaking now, fury and terror mixing together. This is what I was afraid of. This is why I never wanted you in their lives. Because your world makes them targets. My world also protects them. Those men know that touching my family means death. That's not an empty threat. So we're protected by the threat of violence? That's supposed to make me feel better. It's how my world works, Arya. I can't change that overnight. But you can choose. You can walk away from that world. Build something legitimate. Something safe. I'm trying. But it takes time. Years maybe. And in the meantime, the best protection I can offer is right here. Behind these walls. With me. I sank onto the stairs, the fight draining out of me. I can't do this. I can't live knowing that every day someone might decide my children are useful pawns. He sat beside me, careful not to touch. "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to take them and leave. Go somewhere you're not. Somewhere your enemies can't find us." "You think running will keep them safe?" "Arya, they're my children. People already know about them. Leaving doesn't erase that fact. It just removes the protection I can provide." He was right, and I hated it. The moment those men had seen the triplets, the moment anyone in his world knew about them, we'd become part of this whether I wanted it or not. "I should never have come here," I whispered. "Maybe. But you did. And now we figure out how to move forward. Together. I don't know if I can trust you to keep them safe." "I know. But I'm asking you to try." The next morning I noticed something else. Security had tripled overnight. Men in suits stationed around the property. Cameras I hadn't seen before. The house had become a fortress. Sophia came by and found me staring out the window at the guards. "Dante told me what happened," she said. "Did he tell you I want to leave?" "He did. And I'm here to tell you that's the worst thing you could do." "How is staying in the middle of a war zone the better option?" "Because Dante's enemies will find you wherever you go. At least here you have resources. Protection. A chance to fight back if needed." "I don't want to fight. I want my children to be normal kids with normal lives." Sophia laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Arya, they're Dante's children. They were never going to have normal lives. The question is whether they have safe lives. And that requires their father's protection. This is insane. Welcome to our world. It's messy and dangerous and unfair. But it's reality. And you can either accept it or spend your life running from it. Either way, the danger doesn't disappear." After she left, I went to find Dante. He was in his office on the phone, but he ended the call when he saw my face. I need complete honesty, I said. No sugarcoating. No protecting me from the truth. If my children are in danger, I need to know exactly how much. He nodded slowly. Sit down. For the next hour he explained his world. The agreements his father had made. The territories they controlled. The enemies they'd accumulated. The delicate balance of power that kept things stable. And he explained how having a family changed everything. Made him vulnerable in ways he'd never been before. Made compromise necessary where he'd once been able to act freely. The men last night represent old guard operations. They don't like that I'm moving toward legitimate business. They see it as weakness. As betrayal of what we've built. And they'll use us to control you. They'll try. But they also know that harming you means I'll burn their entire operation to the ground. Mutually assured destruction keeps everyone in check. That's not reassuring, Dante. I know. But it's honest. This is the reality. I can minimize the danger. I can provide security and protection. But I can't eliminate the danger entirely. Not yet. How long until you can? Years. Maybe 5. Maybe more. It depends on how quickly I can legitimize operations and remove the family from illegal activities. 5 years. 5 more years of living in fear. Of watching my children grow up behind security guards and armored cars. Of knowing that their last name made them targets. I need to think, I said. Take all the time you need. But that night I overheard something else. Dante on the phone with someone, his voice strained. I don't care what it costs. I want them gone. Permanently. They threaten my family. That's not something I forgive or forget. Gone. Permanently. He was talking about killing people. I'd known abstractly what his world involved. But hearing him order someone's death, hearing the cold calculation in his voice, made it real in a way nothing else had. This was who he was. Who he'd always been. The violence I'd been afraid of wasn't theoretical. It was real and immediate and part of our daily lives now. I went back to my room and locked the door and tried to figure out how to protect my children from the man who was supposed to be protecting them. Because the truth was becoming clear. Dante wasn't the solution to our problems. He was the biggest problem of all. I started making plans to leave. Quietly. Carefully. During the day, I played the role of cooperative co-parent. Smiled when Dante played with the children. Nodded when he discussed security measures. Pretended everything was fine. At night I researched. New cities. Job opportunities. Places where we could disappear and start over. Again. My health was improving. In another few weeks I'd be strong enough to work again. Strong enough to manage on my own. I just had to be patient. Strategic. But Dante was watching me. I could feel it. The way his eyes followed me around the house. The questions about my plans. The casual mentions of how good the children were doing here. 2 weeks after the confrontation, things got worse. A news report. A rival family's warehouse burned down. 3 people dead. The reporter mentioned possible mob connections, retaliation for recent territorial disputes. I looked at Dante across the breakfast table where we were having coffee while the kids ate cereal. Did you do that? Eat your breakfast, kids, he said calmly. Then to me, my office. Now. I followed him, anger building with each step. He closed the door behind us. Yes. I did that. You killed people. I eliminated a threat to my family. Those were the people who sent the men here. Who called my children leverage. By murdering them? That's your solution. That's the only solution they understand. You don't negotiate with people who threaten children. You remove them from the equation. And what do I tell Lily and Luca and Marco when they're old enough to understand what their father does? When they learn that people die because of our last name? You tell them I did what was necessary to keep them safe. That's not keeping them safe, Dante. That's making more enemies. Creating more danger. It's a cycle that never ends. It ends when everyone knows that touching what's mine means death. That's how you create safety in my world. Your world is insane. My world is reality. And whether you like it or not, your children are part of it now. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm gently. Not threatening. Just stopping me. I know you're planning to run, he said quietly. My heart stopped. I've seen the searches on your laptop, the job applications, the apartment listings in other states. Let go of me. Arya, listen to me. Running won't work. My enemies already know about the children, already have their pictures, their names, their faces. Leaving here doesn't erase that. It just means they won't have protection when someone comes looking. Maybe they won't come looking if we're not connected to you anymore. They will. Because you don't get to choose when you're out of this world. Once you're in forever. The only choice is whether you have allies or face it alone. I yanked my arm free. So we're prisoners? We stay here and live by your rules because leaving means death. You stay here because it's the safest option. Because I can protect you in ways no one else can. By killing people. By creating more violence. By doing whatever it takes. His voice was steel. I won't apologize for protecting my family. Not to you. Not to anyone. That night I held my children extra tight during bedtime. Read them extra stories. Memorize their faces like I might lose them. Because the truth was becoming clear. We were trapped. Not by locks or chains, but by circumstances I couldn't escape. My children's faces were known. Their father's identity was known. Running would only make us vulnerable targets without protection. But staying meant accepting violence as normal. Meant raising children in a world where death was a business decision. Meant compromising every value I tried to instill in them. The next morning I got news that made everything worse. My old landlord called. The building had been vandalized. My apartment specifically. Someone had broken in, destroyed what little I'd left behind, and spray painted a message on the wall. We know where the kids live now. Dante took the phone from my shaking hands and spoke with the landlord. Arranged for cleanup. For police reports. For all of it to be handled. After he hung up, he looked at me with something like pity. This is what I was protecting you from 5 years ago. This is why I left. Because being connected to me makes you a target. Then why bring us back into your life? Why not just pay child support from a distance and leave us alone? Because I'm selfish. Because I wanted to be their father. Because I couldn't stay away once I knew they existed. He ran his hand through his hair. But also because they're targets whether I'm in their lives or not. At least this way I can protect them. Some protection. They can't leave the house without guards. Can't go to school like normal kids. Can't have friends over without background checks. This isn't life, Dante. This is prison. It's temporary. Once I've eliminated the threats, once I've secured our position, things will get easier. And how many people have to die for that to happen? He didn't answer. Which was answer enough. Sophia found me crying in my room that afternoon. The children were napping, and I'd finally let the emotions crash over me. I know this is hard, she said, sitting beside me. Hard doesn't begin to cover it. I'm trapped in a nightmare I can't wake up from. You're trapped in reality. There's a difference. She handed me tissues. For what it's worth, Dante is trying. He's taking more risks than he should to legitimize the business. He's making enemies of people who used to be allies. All because he wants to give you and the kids a safer future. By killing people. By protecting what's his. In his world, that's love, Arya. That's how men like him show they care. Through action, not words. I don't want that kind of love. Then what do you want? To go back to working yourself to death? To living paycheck to paycheck and hoping you don't get sick again? To raising kids in neighborhoods where gunshots are normal background noise? She had a point. My old life hadn't been safe either. Just a different kind of dangerous. I want normal, I whispered. I want to take my kids to the park without armed guards. I want them to make friends without worrying if those friends' parents are connected to Dante's enemies. I want boring and predictable and safe. Normal doesn't exist for them anymore. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. The question now is how you navigate the abnormal. With help or alone. After she left, I made a decision. I couldn't run. Couldn't stay. Couldn't protect them alone. Couldn't accept Dante's protection without compromise. I was completely, utterly trapped. And the worst part was knowing that my children were growing to love him. Were bonding with him. Were building a relationship that would destroy them when it inevitably fell apart. As men like Dante didn't change. They just found new ways to justify the violence. And I was raising my children in the center of it all, unable to escape, unable to protect them from the man who claimed to be their protector. That night, Dante knocked on my door. "We need to talk about the future," he said. "What future? We don't have a future. We have right now, and right now is a disaster. Then let me fix it. Let me prove I can give you all a real life. A safe life." "How?" "Trust me. Give me 6 months. 6 months to eliminate the threats and stabilize things. 6 months to show you I'm serious about going legitimate. If after 6 months you still want to leave, I'll help you. I'll set you up somewhere safe, provide security, do whatever it takes to protect you from a distance. And if I say no, then I'll respect that too. But I'm asking for a chance. One real chance to prove I can be the father they deserve, and the man you needed me to be 5 years ago." I looked at him, really looked, and saw genuine desperation, genuine hope, genuine love. And against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me to run, I heard myself say the words that would seal our fate. 6 months. But Dante, if you fail, if you break their hearts, there won't be a second chance. I'll take them and disappear so completely you'll never find us. I understand. And I won't fail. But as he left and I sat alone in the darkness, I wondered if I'd just made a deal with the devil, and whether my children would ever forgive me for it. 3 months into the 6-month agreement, something shifted. Dante kept his word. I watched him turn down deals that would have been profitable but illegal. Watched him meet with lawyers about restructuring the family business. Watched him take calls where he negotiated exits from old arrangements. It wasn't easy. He came home exhausted most nights. Tense. The weight of changing an empire showing in every line of his face. But he showed up for the children every single day. Breakfast. Dinner. Bedtime stories. School drop-offs when I finally agreed to enroll them in a private school with extensive security. And slowly, against everything I'd promised myself, I started seeing him differently. Not as the man who abandoned me, but as the man trying desperately to build something better. One night Lily had a nightmare. I went to comfort her, but Dante was already there, holding her, whispering reassurances. "Daddy, I dreamed the bad men came back." She sobbed into his shoulder. "They can't hurt you, princess. Promise. Daddy won't let anyone hurt you." "But what if they hurt you?" He pulled back to look at her. "Then Uncle Victor and Aunt Sophia and all our friends will protect you. You'll never be alone. Never be unprotected. That's what family means." After Lily fell back asleep, I found Dante in the hallway, wiping his own eyes. "She called you Daddy," I said softly. "I know. Scares me every time. 'Cause it means I can't fail. Can't be the man who lets them down. You're doing better than I expected." He looked at me surprised. "Is that almost a compliment? Don't let it go to your head." But something had changed between us. The anger was fading, being replaced by something more complicated. Something that felt dangerously like forgiveness. A week later, Dante came home with news. The Romano family wants to meet. They're the last major holdout against legitimizing operations. If I can negotiate with them, we're done. The transition is complete. And if you can't, then there's a war. But I don't think it'll come to that. They're reasonable people. They'll see that going legitimate protects everyone long term. The meeting was scheduled for the following week, at a neutral location, with mediators present. Dante spent days preparing, consulting lawyers, building his case, showing me contracts and projections and plans for the future. "If this works," he said the night before the meeting, "we can start living normally. The kids can go to regular school. You can work if you want. We can be a real family." "We're not a family, Dante. Aren't we? He gestured around. We live together. Raise kids together. Have dinner together every night. Make decisions together. What else would you call it? A temporary arrangement. Arya, it's been 3 months. The kids are thriving. You're healthy. We work together better than I ever imagined. Why does it have to be temporary? Because you hurt me. Because I spent 5 years hating you. Because I don't know if I can trust you not to leave again. I'm not leaving. How many times do I have to prove that? I don't know. Maybe forever. Maybe I'll never fully trust you again. He stepped closer and my breath caught. This was the closest we'd been since before he left. Close enough to remember what it felt like to love him. I'll take forever, he said quietly. I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm not that man anymore. That I'm someone worthy of you and them. If that's what it takes. Dante. I still love you, Arya. I never stopped. Even when I walked away. Even when I thought I was doing the right thing. Even through 5 years of regret and guilt and missing you every single day. I love you. The words hit like a physical blow. Because somewhere deep inside, under all the anger and hurt and betrayal, I'd never stopped loving him either. But love wasn't enough. Love hadn't been enough 5 years ago. Love hadn't kept him from leaving. Love hadn't paid my bills or held my hand through labor or raised our children. I can't do this, I said, stepping back. I can't let myself feel this again. Not when I don't know if you'll stay. Then tell me what I need to do. Give me a finish line. Tell me how to earn your trust back. I don't know if there is a finish line. Some things you break you can't fix. Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. Okay. Then I'll just keep trying. Keep showing up. Keep being the man you and the kids deserve. And maybe someday you'll see that I'm not going anywhere. The next day he left for the meeting. Kissed each of the children. Looked at me like he wanted to kiss me too but didn't dare. I'll be back for dinner, he promised. Be careful. Always am. But an hour after he left, Sophia called. Turn on the news. I did, and my blood ran cold. Breaking news. Shooting at downtown restaurant. Multiple casualties. Reports of organized crime involvement. The restaurant name was the same one where Dante's meeting was scheduled. Sophia, where is he? I don't know. He's not answering his phone. Victor is heading there now. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The children were at school. I was alone in this massive house with a television showing chaos and blood, and the very real possibility that Dante was dead. After everything. After 3 months of trying. After starting to hope that maybe we could build something real. After almost letting myself love him again. He might be gone. And this time it wouldn't be his choice. It would be the violence I'd always feared. The world I'd tried to protect my children from. The inevitable consequence of loving a man who lived in darkness. My phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Bennett. A professional voice. This is Mercy General Hospital. Your husband has been admitted. You're listed as his emergency contact. Husband. I didn't correct them. Is he alive? He's in surgery. You should come as soon as possible. I called Sophia to watch the kids when they got home from school. Called my neighbor to drive me because my hands were shaking too badly to be safe. And as I sat in that car racing toward the hospital, I realized something that terrified me more than anything else. I loved him. Still loved him. Maybe had never stopped loving him despite everything. And now I might lose him for real. Not to his choices. Not to his cowardice. But to the violence that came with being who he was. The universe was forcing me to make the choice I'd been avoiding for 3 months. Did I want a life with Dante with all the danger and complications that came with it? Or did I want safety and normalcy and the guarantee that my heart would never be this broken again? As the hospital came into view, I realized I already knew the answer. And it scared me more than anything else in my life ever had. Dante was alive. Barely. The surgeon met me in the waiting room. Gunshot wound to the shoulder. Another grazed his ribs. He'd lost a lot of blood but would survive. He was lucky, the surgeon said. Another inch and the shoulder wound would have hit his heart. Lucky. That's what my life had become. Measuring survival in inches. They let me see him after surgery. He was unconscious, pale, hooked up to machines that beep steadily. Alive. I sat beside his bed and let myself cry. For the fear. For the relief. For the realization that I couldn't lose him. Not now. Not after everything. When he woke up hours later, his first word was my name. Arya. I'm here. The kids are safe. Sophia has them. The meeting. It was a setup. Romano never wanted peace. He wanted me dead. His voice was rough with pain and medication. Don't talk. Just rest. No. You need to hear this. He struggled to sit up, and I helped adjust the bed. I recorded everything. The whole meeting. Romano admitting he ordered the hit on our apartment. Admitting he's been sabotaging my legitimate business deals. Admitting he threatened you and the kids to keep me in line. Why would he admit all that? Because he thought I'd be dead before anyone heard it. But Victor got me out. And now I have proof. Proof that goes to the FBI, the police, everyone. Romano is done. What does that mean? It means the last obstacle is gone. The family can go fully legitimate. The danger is over. He reached for my hand. It means we're free, Arya. You and me and the kids. We can have the normal life you wanted. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that one recording would end years of violence and danger. What about retaliation? What about Romano's people coming after you? Victor's handling it. The recording's being released to authorities in an hour. By tomorrow, Romano and his entire operation will be arrested. There's no one left to retaliate. You planned this. The meeting, the recording, everything. I needed proof to take him down legally. Needed him to feel confident enough to confess. The shooting wasn't part of the plan, but the recording was. He squeezed my hand weakly. I told you I'd fix this. I told you I'd make us safe. You almost died. But I didn't. And now we're done. No more looking over our shoulders. No more threats. Just us. Just our family. The word family hit different this time. Not scary. Not temporary. Just true. I love you, I said before I could stop myself. I'm so angry at you still. So hurt by what you did 5 years ago. But I love you. And when I thought you were dead, I realized I never want to feel that again. Arya. His eyes filled with tears. I'm not saying everything's fixed. I'm not saying I trust you completely. But I'm saying I want to try. Really try. Not as a temporary arrangement. As a real family. Are you sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. He pulled me closer, ignoring the pain it must have caused, and kissed me. Soft and gentle and full of promise. Like the first time. Like coming home. When I pulled back, he was smiling despite the pain. Marry me. What? Marry me, Arya. Not because of the kids. Not because you need protection. Because I love you. Because I want forever with you. Because I want to be your husband. Not just their father. You're high on pain medication. I'm completely serious. I should have married you 5 years ago. Should have trusted our love instead of my fear. I'm not making that mistake again. Marry me. Dante, we just started trying again. Marriage is the next step. The promise I should have made years ago. The commitment you deserve. He reached into his hospital gown pocket awkwardly and pulled out a small box. You have a ring? In the hospital. I've been carrying it for a month. Waiting for the right moment. Almost dying seems like as good a time as any. He opened the box. The ring inside was beautiful. Simple. Exactly what I would have chosen. How did you know my style? I remembered. I remembered everything about you. Every preference. Every dream. Every casual comment you made about wanting something simple and meaningful instead of flashy. He held it out. So what do you say? Will you marry me and let me spend the rest of my life making up for the worst mistake I ever made? I looked at the ring. At him. At the future that was suddenly possible instead of impossible. The kids need to be part of this decision. They already are. I asked them last week if they'd want us to be a real family. They said yes before I even finished the question. You asked our 4-year-olds for permission to propose? I asked our 4-year-olds if they wanted a mommy and daddy who were together. There's a difference. Despite everything, I laughed. You're ridiculous. Is that a yes? I took the ring from the box and slipped it on my finger. Perfect fit. Like it was always meant to be there. It's a yes. But Dante, if you ever, and I mean ever, walk away again. I won't. I swear on everything I won't. You're stuck with me forever now. Good. Because these kids need their father. And apparently I need you too. He pulled me in for another kiss, deeper this time, and I felt 5 years of pain start to heal. Not disappear. Not erase. But heal. The door burst open. Victor, Sophia, and somehow the triplets rushed in. Daddy! They scrambled onto the bed carefully, and Dante winced but smiled. Hey, troublemakers. Who said you could leave school early? Aunt Sophia said Mommy needed us, Lily explained. Are you okay? I'm perfect. Especially now. He looked at me. Kids, I have a question for you. We already said yes, Marco interrupted. Aunt Sophia told us you were gonna ask Mommy to marry you. Sophia. I turned to her, but she just shrugged. They deserve to know. And they've been planning the wedding for weeks. Weeks. Daddy's been talking about it forever, Lucas said matter-of-factly. He loves you, Mommy. He says it all the time when you're not listening. I looked at Dante, who had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I may have mentioned it a few times. A few. Daily. I mentioned it daily. To anyone who'd listen. He gathered the kids close with his good arm. So what do you say? Want to make this official? Yes. They shouted in unison, and the nurse poked her head in to shush us. As I sat there surrounded by my children and the man I'd loved and lost and somehow found again, I realized something. This wasn't the life I'd planned. Wasn't the neat, tidy, safe existence I'd dreamed of. It was messy and complicated and came with a past I'd never forget. But it was real. And it was ours. And maybe that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 6 months later, I stood in a garden wearing a simple white dress, watching my children scatter flower petals down an aisle. The wedding was small. Just family and close friends. Nothing extravagant. Just perfect. Dante waited at the altar, still healing but strong. Victor stood beside him as best man. Sophia was my maid of honor, something I never would have predicted a year ago. As I walked down the aisle, I thought about the journey that brought us here. The pain. The fear. The impossible choices. The slow rebuilding of trust. You look beautiful, Dante whispered when I reached him. You're biased. Completely. And I'm okay with that. The ceremony was short. We'd written our own vows. Aria, Dante began, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. 5 years ago, I made the worst decision of my life. I walked away from you because I was afraid. Afraid of what loving you meant. Afraid of the danger it brought. Afraid of choosing between you and the only life I'd ever known. He took my hands. I was a coward. And you and our children paid the price for my cowardice. I can't undo those years. Can't erase the struggle or the pain or the nights you cried yourself to sleep. But I can promise you this. I will spend every day of the rest of my life showing up. Being present. Being the man you needed me to be 5 years ago. I will love you and our children with everything I am. I will choose you every single day. No matter what. That's my vow to you. I wiped tears from my eyes and took a breath. Dante, you broke my heart. You left me when I needed you most. You made me believe I was alone in this world. And for a long time I hated you for that. I saw him flinch but continued. But you came back. Not when it was convenient. Not when it was easy. But when we needed you most. And you've shown me that people can change. That mistakes don't have to define us forever. That love can survive even the worst betrayals if both people are willing to fight for it. I squeezed his hands. I vow to trust you again. To let go of the past even when it's hard. To build a future with you instead of living in yesterday's pain. I vow to love you, fight with you, raise our children with you, and choose you every day. Even when you drive me crazy. Especially then. We exchanged rings, kissed, and became a family officially. The reception was in the same garden. The children ran around with other kids, finally able to be normal. No guards hovering. No fear. Just childhood. They're happy, Sophia said, coming to stand beside me. You did good, Arya. We did good. You helped more than you know. I'm glad Dante found you again. Glad he finally stopped being an idiot. She smiled. Welcome to the family. Officially this time. Dante pulled me onto the dance floor for our first dance. As we swayed to music, he whispered, "Thank you." For what? For giving me a second chance. For loving me despite everything. For being brave enough to trust again. Thank you for not giving up. For fighting for us. For becoming the man you are now. I'm still a work in progress. Aren't we all? Later, after cake and dancing and children falling asleep on chairs, Dante and I stood at the edge of the garden watching the sunset. Romano was sentenced today, he said quietly. 20 years. His entire operation dismantled. It's really over. How do you feel about that? Relieved. Free. Ready to focus on our future instead of fighting ghosts from my past. What does our future look like? Whatever you want it to look like. I have legitimate businesses now. Real estate. Import-export, actually legal this time. Consulting. We can live anywhere. Do anything. I want normal. Boring. PDA meetings and soccer games and family dinners. Then that's what we'll do. He pulled me closer. I love you, Mrs. Moretti. Mrs. Moretti. My new name. My new life. I love you too. Even though you're still infuriating sometimes. Only sometimes. I'm losing my touch. We watched as Victor helped Sophia gather the sleeping children. Our family. Messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. A year ago I was dying in a hospital. Alone. Afraid. Barely surviving. Now I was married to the man who'd broken me and healed me. Raising 3 incredible children who had their father back. Living a life I'd stopped believing was possible. No regrets. Dante asked. I thought about it. About the pain. The struggle. The years of raising our children alone. The fear and anger and grief. I regret that it took us so long to get here. That the kids didn't have you for their first 4 years. That we lost time we can't get back. But I don't regret the journey. It made us stronger. Made me stronger. Made you the father you are now. Maybe we needed to break to understand how to build something lasting. That's very philosophical for a wedding day. Blame the champagne. He laughed and kissed me under the fading light. Life wasn't perfect. We still had moments where old hurts surfaced. Nights where I remembered the pain of being abandoned. Days where he struggled with guilt over missing so much. But we were trying. Every day. Together. The children started school at a normal school the next month. Made friends. Played sports. Had birthday parties and playdates and all the things I'd wanted for them. Dante coached Marco's soccer team. Sat through Lily's dance recitals. Helped Luca with science projects. Showed up for every moment, big and small. And slowly I learned to trust again. To believe that he'd stay. To accept that our love was strong enough to survive anything now. One night, 6 months after the wedding, I found Dante in the kids' room. All 3 were asleep and he was just watching them. What are you doing? I whispered. Memorizing this. Every detail. So I never forget how lucky I am. I leaned against him. They love you so much. I love them more than I knew it was possible to love anyone. Except you. I love you most. Good answer. I've been thinking, he said as we walked back to our room. Maybe we should have another baby. Are you insane? 3 is plenty. Just 1 more. So we can experience it together from the beginning. The pregnancy, the birth, the first everything. I looked at him, this man who'd become everything I never knew I needed, and smiled. Ask me again in a year. If you're still here, still showing up, still being the man you promised to be, I'll be here. I promise you, Arya. I'll always be here. And for the first time in 5 years, I believed him completely. So that's my story. The story of how I went from a woman dying alone to a wife and mother living fully. How I learned that love doesn't erase pain but can heal it. How I discovered that second chances are possible if both people are willing to fight for them. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. For being part of this journey. For understanding that life is messy and complicated, and sometimes you have to break before you can truly heal. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this. Stories about real love and real struggle and real redemption. Drop a comment telling me your thoughts. Have you ever given someone a second chance? Did it work out? I want to hear your stories too. And remember, wherever you are right now, whatever you're going through, you're stronger than you know. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is trust again after being hurt. But sometimes that trust leads to the most beautiful life you never imagined possible. This is Arya signing off. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing in second chances. Because sometimes, just sometimes, love really does win in the end.